How come it's all so complicated? Where has the simple truths gone to hide? Where is the thing that we all carry inside? How come it's all so implicated? And yet the author's playing, seek and hide. You go looking for truth, all you do is lose your youth and find the ghosts creeping up outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't give up the hope. And don't lose the end of your rope. You just might need it to get outside. I heard tell that the truth is love. I heard tell before the angels fell. But I still know I've seen it all before. That's what's said above. That's what's said above. Or messages in a diamond smiles. Or messages in the way you are. Alors, bonjour, mes amis, mes grands amis, je suis, comme vous savez, Thomas Dauphin, ici en France. Donc, je vais commencer cette lecture en français. Alors, c'est une catastrophe. Ce monde est dans un temps de grande tristesse. Et j'essaie chaque semaine que je parle de trouver pourquoi. Je fais une petite lecture. Et aujourd'hui, je veux parler au sujet de Bouddha, du loi de Bouddha. Parce que j'écris un livre à ce moment au sujet de mathématiques et religion. Et ça m'intéresse beaucoup. J'ai trouvé beaucoup de choses. Chaque jour, je fais 5 heures de recherche. C'est un sujet nouveau, il n'existe pas. Je commence ici, dans ce temps de catastrophe, ce sujet. Oui, il y a des gens mathématiques, des grands penseurs comme Pascal, comme Poincaré, comme Einstein. Ils ont dit quelque chose au sujet des religions. Ils ont parlé des dieux, de croyances et des choses comme ça. Pascal, particulièrement, il trouve... il aime mathématiques, mais au fin de sa vie, il a trouvé un peu... pas assez important pour son âme. Il pense que les affaires de l'âme, l'éternité, c'est plus important. Et je suis en d'accord avec lui. Oui, exactement. Et je trouve que dans ce monde, il y a quelque chose de très étrange. Les mathématiciens, ils sont vus beaucoup plus importants que les philosophes, les gens qui parlent des choses morales, des sujets spirituels. Alors, si Jésus-Christ retourne maintenant, on va dire, alors, vous connaissez la mathématique? Sinon, allez, vas-y. Parce que notre culture, c'est complètement privilégié les connaissances mathématiques. Et on est un scientiste si on parle dans cette langue. Et c'est une langue très difficile pour les gens normaux. C'est une langue complexe et il y a beaucoup de visions de cette langue. Et c'est presque impossible pour un homme, une femme normale, d'apprendre cette langue. Alors, et nous avons privilégié cette langue au-dessus de toutes les autres langues. Les langues de l'humanité, des arts, des histoires. Non, ils ne comptent pas. Maintenant, c'est tous les numéros. Nous habitons dans un monde digital. Et ça, c'est tout ce qu'on veut. Alors, je trouve que ça, c'est un problème très grave pour l'humanité. Il y avait des gens avant qui ont dit ça. Il y a un homme français, René Guénon, il a dit, il y a 50 ans, il a dit, dans un grand livre, il a fait son témoignage à ce problème. Parce que, alors, pourquoi c'est un problème? C'est un problème parce que si on s'intéresse seulement au sujet des quantités, des numéros, on ne peut pas trouver éthique dans cette langue. Les numéros sont sans spiritualité, sans éthique, sans morale et sans signification actuellement. Et ça c'est pourquoi je trouve que ce monde tombe dans une direction très dangereuse. Nous avons des politiciens maintenant qui ne comprennent pas le concept de la vérité. Ils parlent comme les menteurs professionnels. Ils ont des gens qui fait les grandes difficultés dans le moyen pour trouver la vérité de tous les sujets. Alors, dans le monde politique, c'est presque complètement bouleversé. En Israël, on a un premier ministre qui est un menteur. Mais il ment si grandement qu'on est complètement choqué. On ne peut pas dire rien. Et en Grande-Bretagne, c'est la même chose, au Westminster. Vous avez une succession des premiers ministres conservatifs qui ont perfecté leur mensonge. Et c'est pas possible de... Alors, quand ça arrive, la signification des mots s'en va. Donc il n'y a rien qu'on peut dire. Et le média social, il fait un grand bruit, mais sans signification de la vérité. Aux États-Unis, c'est exactement la même chose. C'est incroyable. Le président de cette langue complexe que j'aime, que les Français étaient... actuellement, New York, c'était pour la première fois par un Européen, c'était un homme français qui l'a trouvé, cette Manhattan. Alors, je propose que New York peut rejoindre France et être un petit port pour l'Union européenne dans l'Amérique. Et au Canada aussi, il y a beaucoup de Français. Mais maintenant, alors, je ne peux pas... vous savez l'histoire. Cet président, il a tombé, il a perdu son élection, mais il ne comprend pas dans son tête. Il pense que toujours, il est l'empereur. C'est comme Obama a dit, c'est un oncle qui est un peu fou, alors. Mais, on attend. Mais c'est incroyable dans une démocratie qu'on doit faire ces jeux, alors. Et dans un temps de Covid, alors, c'est contre les éthiques. Voilà. Et en France, je ne sais pas, je pense que Macron, il comprend la différence entre la vérité et le mensonge. Il comprend la différence. Et il essaie de trouver une résolution au Covid, les problèmes économiques, les problèmes de Brexit, les problèmes de la paix. Il a fait une conférence pour la paix au Paris. Et il essaie de trouver une paix pour le Moyen-Orient, au Liban et au Nagorno-Karabakh et les autres places. Mais son voix est surmontée par les menteurs, tristement. Alors, ça c'est pourquoi je fais mon livre. Mon livre c'est très radical, c'est une révolution. Parce que je propose une autre discipline qui s'appelle les mathématiques religieuses. Je trouve que les numéros sont actuellement les formes des dieux. Je propose comme Platon, comme la tradition platonique, c'est la tradition juive et chrétienne et islamique, c'est la tradition, alors Guénon, il s'appelle tradition. C'est la tradition que les nombres sont une sorte de langue qui sort des dieux. Alors, qu'est-ce que ça veut dire? Quand j'étudie la mathématique à l'école, on n'a pas dit rien comme ça. Mais j'ai trouvé dans les bibliothèques de philosophie que Ça, c'est la tradition qui est le plus intelligente et qui explique beaucoup. C'est une tradition mathématique au bouddhisme, au hindouisme, au islam et les juifs et les chrétiens. Alors, ça c'est mon livre. C'est très complexe, mais c'est un peu de mon djihad alors, en arabique, de faire la paix entre les religions et les sciences. Parce que ça, c'est la grande guerre de notre temps. Les traditions marxistes, les traditions scientifiques qui disent non, il n'y a pas un Dieu, il n'y a rien religieux, c'est folle tout ça, on doit être scientifique. Marx, il est typique de ces penseurs parce qu'il aime la mathématique, Marx. Das Kapital, c'est un grand livre des mathématiques actuellement. Et ses autres œuvres, de même. Mais il essaie de construire une mathématique socialiste. Il veut comprendre l'énergie des ouvrières. Où sont leurs valeurs? C'est pas dans le prix. Alors, c'est dans les poches des boss. Il la trouve. Il essaie de faire une mathématique pour l'expliquer, mais c'est trop compliqué pour les gens normaux. Il était très intelligent, mais il n'était pas un bon communicateur. Marx, il ne peut pas communiquer ses idées très clairement, je trouve. Alors ça, c'est pourquoi je fais un commentaire sur Das Kapital, pour simplifier les grandes idées. Alors, je trouve qu'il y a aussi des erreurs. Et il était trop intelligent pour normalité. Et il était un peu arrogant aussi. Il pense qu'il était le seul homme du monde qui prend prendre le capital. Mais c'est une erreur d'arrogance, de hubris. Et ça, c'est l'énergie de... Actuellement, c'est une ignorance émotionnelle qu'il a traduit à ses élèves comme les autres marxistes. Et c'est quelque chose qu'on a appris dans cette tradition. Et ça, c'est pourquoi Staline et Mao étaient si arrogants aussi. Alors, je ne suis pas de cette tradition, mais je comprends parce que ma famille était de cette tradition. Et je l'ai étudié. Voilà. Et pour moi, c'est la chose la plus intéressante, c'est qu'il manque une mathématique religieuse. Et c'est incroyable parce que Marx était juif. Je pense qu'il a étudié le Kabbalah un peu. Je trouve qu'il était un homme des francs-maçons à Paris. Il comprend un peu de tout ça. Mais pas très profondément. Non. Alors, donc, je vais continuer en anglais maintenant parce que je veux qu'on communique quelque chose d'exact. Je trouve le français c'est bien pour les idées philosophiques et profondes, mais l'anglais c'est bien pour les choses plus techniques. Et je dois expliquer quelque chose de technique maintenant. Right, thank you for listening. So, what I want to talk about today in this part of my talk is really the work I've been doing in this last week. I record these talks every week. It's my sort of communication platform with the world, with my friends, students, etc. And the world is going through absolute chaos. I've been doing these weekly fasts every Sunday, ever since Brexit, really. I mean, as part of my resistance to it intellectually, I found Brexit the beginning of the collapse of rationality and normality in our society, in Europe, in Britain. I'm a British citizen, co-citizen with Canada, ended up in France, and love France, love French culture, love Europe. I'm a European, pan-European, and I see my compatriots have destroyed or trying to destroy that dream that Britain belongs in Europe. We are a European culture, so many of our words came, our alphabet came from Europe. All our university system came from Europe. Our spirituality, the Druid, the pagan, the pioneers of the Celtic intelligentsia, and also the Anglo-Saxon sages that came, brought their runes. They're all Europeans, right? Originally Britain and Europe were joined up. It was one thing, and then there was just a bit of a flood in the North Sea and it got separated. But actually it's one country. So I just find it such a gross attack on common sense. If you walked into a doctor's surgery and you saw the doctor attacking people with a pitch, an ice pick, smashing their skulls up and stuff, you'd arrest the guy. You'd say he'd gone mad. And if he said, no, but I'm doing it because they voted for it. What? It's still wrong, right? And also, he's doing it because, no, we like to cut people up. It's really good. It's good practice. That to me is it's insane as that. So that's why I'm fasting against Brexit. I'm just fasting for some sort of rationality to come back to the world. And if I have to go on doing it for 50 years, I will. What have I been working on this week? Well, I'm working on my book on religious mathematics. And I'm working on volume 2. I've published volume 1 already. You can read it. And on volume 2, I'm looking at different themes each day. Today, Sunday, I was working on the Kalachakra Tantra. And I want to share a few thoughts and ideas of this tradition and lineage, which is very interesting to me and has been for years. I think Buddhism was the first religion I really got interested in. I woke up with in the late 70s. The idea of not just sort of commitment to enlightenment as a spiritual, intellectual stage. You see, I was brought up in a family that had no real religious faith. It was post-religious. And it was all... and then I went to study University of Bristol, where I was taught in the philosophy department. There was no ultimate truth. There was no truth. There's only science. There's only logical positivism. All metaphysical statements are meaningless, was their mantra. And, I knew this wasn't the case, so I found it really irritating. And a disappointment, because I'd gone to study philosophy in order to study metaphysics. And here I was told, you can't do it. So I actually resigned in disgust. And it was the turning point was when the lecturer, in one of his lectures, I'd asked a question about Hume's skepticism and Buddhist skepticism. I said, surely these are sort of similar. Isn't this interesting? And he arrogantly said to me, no, of course they're not the same. No, Buddhism isn't even a philosophy. What a trivial, stupid, ignorant, and ill-informed remark. And I'm afraid that's when I decided to resign from the University of Bristol and go and study philosophy alone. I walked to Stonehenge and I began the practice of philosophy. I started regular meditation. I changed my kind of lifestyle to, a more ethical path. And I got very serious about the pursuit of enlightenment. I started regular meditation and yoga, and that was really the beginning of my spiritual life, looking for ultimate truth. And on the path, I found that Buddhism, particularly Tantric Buddhism, Vajrayana Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, I found it was like a sort of, sprinkling of fairy dust that made total sense, the teachings of karma and of enlightenment and of collective enlightenment. And that began a lifetime search, actually. And I studied different Buddhist scholars, and then I went to Canada for 4 years, and I read through all the great spiritual literatures of the world, Christian, Islamic, the whole lot, and all the Buddhist scriptures. And I I came to a position that I call Meta-Mahayana, which is, I took a Buddhist vow, I took a Buddhist initiation when I was 19 to work for enlightenment this lifetime, not just for myself, but for all living beings, for all humanity. As a bodhisattva, it's called the Bodhisattvic Path, it's the sort of diamond path. And I still, I'm faithful to that vow, but I've come to the position that you don't only reach enlightenment through Buddhism. I think that would be very mean of God, or mean of reality. It's like saying that all cats should be black. No, there are ginger cats, red cats, white cats. They're all beautiful. And they all are cats, right? So I think enlightenment comes in different flavors and disguises. And I've come to the position that, this is why I call it Meta-Mahayana, because Mahayana Buddhism taught that, unlike the original Theravadan Buddhism, which was quite strict, sort of disciplinary path for you yourself to reach nirvana, to reach a kind of enlightenment place, to be non-violent, to be courteous, to be non-argumentative, non-lying, to follow those fundamental ethical rules that the Eightfold Path lays down. That's very, very important. That should be the basis for all of us. And then on top of that, we have to develop some higher parameters, perfections, which things like generosity and meditational intensity and concentration and so on. These are all were developed later by other schools. And the idea was that everyone could reach enlightenment if you practice this. Well, I came to the view after many years of study that, if Buddhism is the only vehicle of enlightenment on this planet, then I think the planet is lost, because there aren't enough Buddhists to go round, and even among the Buddhists I've met, there aren't enough enlightened ones. They're just as foibled as other people, right? They've made into Buddhism a sort of cult of Buddha worship, or a sort of a cult of negation. There's a certain type of Buddhist thinker that whatever you say, they just say no, because they're so full of their own anatta doctrine that, everything's a no-no. which it overlooks Nagarjuna. I mean, Nagarjuna's insight was you double the negative and you get a positive. And the point is to focus on enlightenment, so you don't get stuck on the way with a sort of ideology or an ism, right? The point is to be loose enough that, it's like when you're hitchhiking, okay? You may be hitching and hoping for a fantastic car that's going to take you 100 miles, but you wait there 2 hours and all you get is one taking you to the next town. Well, get on it, and then maybe in the next town you'll find another lift. That's called pragmatism. So I think I'm a pragmatic Meta-Mahayana practitioner in that I recognize that humanity has all these different vehicles, yanas they're called. And the yanas, the vehicles, are for particular times and places. And so, for instance, Islam is the yana of the Arab culture from that time, 7th century Arabia. It was a great, revelatory amazingness that came over Muhammad. It was a download from the higher spheres, and relative to what had been going on before, female infanticide and constant warfare and all that, it was reasonably enlightened. And in some parts, incredibly enlightened. So I've done my commentary on the Quran. It has wonderful, wonderful insights. And they were later developed by later Islamic philosophers, some of whom had studied with Buddhists. This is what gave rise to the Ismaili schools and some of the Shia insights. And when in the Persian traditions, some of these incredible Islamic philosophers combined insights of Buddhism with insights of Islamic philosophy, and they were adopting mathematics from India, and a true savant is universal. The people at Takshila, the great monastery, and Nalanda, they were universal thinkers. Unfortunately, of course, Islam had another side to it, which was very particularistic. It was like my way or the highway, and it was trying to export its specificities into the universal. And this is what leads to trouble always, and that's what led to the Islamic armies destroying Nalanda and Takshila, the great monasteries of northern India and burning the libraries. When I went to Nalanda, I discovered to my horror that it burned for 3 months. There were so many amazing books there. The Muslim armies just torched a lot, and it all burnt, and there was a pall of smoke hanging over it for 3 months. I mean, can you imagine the horror and the stupidity of that? That to me symbolises all the libraries that have gone up in smoke in history, and there's a lot of them. One of the worst ones was Strasbourg, which was destroyed during the Franco-Prussian War in 1870. It went up in smoke. Alexandria, another one went up in smoke. I mean, the list is too long. So I'm for not burning libraries. I'm for integrating and synthesizing the wisdom traditions of all the world. I'm for refounding the great libraries and monasteries of the ancient and medieval world and getting them upgraded to modern standards. So I wrote to Prince Charles suggesting when he's king he should rebuild the abbeys of Glastonbury and Rievaulx and all the great abbeys of Britain, have them rebuilt and restock the libraries and let people go there on spiritual pilgrimages. We'll see if he does. I think he would if he could. So, okay, Meta-Mahayana is kind of the way I describe what I do. I think Gary Snyder used to use the same term. He was a great American poet, Buddhist who inspired me. I heard him do a talk once. And Alan Watts probably, would have used the same term. I'm not sure if he thought of it. And I think Ken Wilde was coming from the same place. I mean, Ken, in his magnificent sort of enumeration of all the different world spiritual paths and how they all interlink, he's done a sort of Meta-Mahayana survey of them all, and he's rightly kept the quest for enlightenment, is at the core of what he does. I just hope he carries on doing it for a while longer. We need him. Okay, so now, how does this relate to Kalachakra Tantra? Okay, Kalachakra Tantra is the highest initiatory sort of discipline within Tibetan Buddhism. It was an offshoot of Vajrayana Buddhism, and it was taught in most of the Vajrayana schools around Tibet, and it still is in exiled Tibetan communities, and it lives on in Tibet itself to some extent. Its teachings are very interesting, and they point to a sort of Meta-Mahayana position of themselves. And I think that's probably why I resonated with Vajrayana Buddhism as a young man of 19, because I sort of picked up on what it was all about from a very deep place. Okay, so what Kalachakra Tantra means is, firstly, it deals with very, very big time. And this is why it's interesting mathematically. Kalachakra is the great wheel of time. The chakra's the wheel, Kalas is time itself. We're all subject to time. Time is a constant theme in all different religions, Mithras, Zoroastrian Zervanism, Christianity,